Welcome, everyone, to the Paranormal Pride. I hope everybody's having a good week. I know that I had a good weekend. So, come in the chat. Tell us about your weekend. I'll tell you about mine if you want to hear about it. But tonight I have a great guest. My guest is Karen Laven. You guys may remember her if you've listened to any of the older Paranormal Prides. I kept calling her Linda. And we all know that she doesn't work for Mel's Diner. So I'm going to welcome Karen Laven to the show.
Linda, Denise.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay.
Karen,
it's great to be here. Yep.
Oh yeah. Karen's an author. She was a reporter. Mm-hmm. She is also an actress. She's been in some, I don't know what kind of movies or shows you've been in, but we'll talk about that. But she wrote two excellent, well, she wrote more than two, but if you're into ghost books, she wrote two really good ones. And I got to tell you, these are very high quality books. If you want to check them out, the print is large as, you could probably see some of it there, pictures and all kinds of stuff. So if you're a picture reader, it's perfect. And she gets into a lot of detail about Dayton and Cincinnati Ghosts. And I know she sent them to me. I loved them. I read most of both of them, but I'm being honest.
That's fair.
So it just came up, hey, we're probably not going to Ohio anytime soon. So it's like, why memorize this stuff if I'm not going anytime soon? But they're very well written. I really enjoyed everything that I read. So check them out. And I know that you have two other books. What are the other two books called?
Quit Bugging Me, which is like a science fiction-y thing it's a middle grade book for children about a couple of kids that get lost inside a book about bugs and they can't get out. So it's kind of that. It's kind of funny. It's kind of, whatever. I enjoyed writing that. I also wrote The Surrogate Who Cleaned Up, which is a parody of a romance novel, which that was the first book I ever wrote, which I loved writing. And it was also, it was bought and called Domestic Entanglements. It was sold on Amazon that way. And then I also wrote The Other 23 Days, Scores of Alternative Uses for Feminine Hygiene Products.
Oh, yes, I remember that one. Well, some of the people that are into survival might want to know that.
Oh, for a lot of household survival, everything, you name it. In fact, I'm giving a talk. A group approached me, Sweet Cheeks Diaper Bank in Cincinnati, and they want me to do a ghost talk for them, and I'm doing that in a couple of weeks. And then they also provide diapers for people that cannot afford them and for children that can't, which I love. And they also provide feminine products for women that can't necessarily afford them. So I'm going to talk about also the other book and the alternative uses, and just, it just sounds, it's so amazing. I've never had a talk line up with both of them at the same time. So I'm thrilled.
Are you going to film it?
I don't know. Every time I have my husband do that, it never works. If he catches a fish or whatever, it's perfectly, in frame. He can do it with one hand, with the other thing. All the times whenever I've done anything, I'm like, okay, take video of this or whatever. I'm old. And it just, something always goes wrong. So I don't even know if I'm going to ask him.
Oh, okay. We'll maybe you should ask a teenager to do it.
Exactly. The youngest person in the place. You're right. It's so true.
Yeah, because I know you guys can do this stuff. So keep that in mind. So
yeah, definitely.
But I hope it goes good. I know it will. I know that you're also a public speaker. So once you do it a couple times, it's easy. You just talk to everybody like you know them.
You're so good at that. I was just thinking that you're just so relaxed and everything. And I freak out before everything. I have this, anxiety, agoraphobic. I wrote a theater piece about my agoraphobia, and what a dope. And then I performed it live, and over the Rhine and it's like, why do I get myself into this? But once I do it and I'm in it, or it's almost done. And especially when it's done, I'm really glad I did it. But before that, like right now, I'm still kind of, it's just my personality. I wish I was all, like you are, calm and collected, and I try.
And you've done this longer than I have. When did you start your reporting career?
Oh my gosh. That was in Minnesota. So, gosh, it was in 1996. So that I actually got a job at 2 different newspapers the same day. So I did city council meetings for one and basic articles, and the other one I did feature articles. And so I had to go and interview a ton of people and do all of that. And that I kind of think I did it just to make myself not hide under my bed, just because I love writing, I love people, and I love finding out what makes them tick. And I just felt that it was something, yeah, it was really weird when my husband got promoted and we moved to Northern Kentucky, that all my newspaper stuff was gone. So I'm like, what am I going to do? And you almost like you go back into your all just, the house and the kids and all that, but something is always gnawing at you. There's always stuff you're curious about. I'd always think, oh, that'd make a great, feature story and stuff like that around here or whatever. And so when I got the contract for Cincinnati Ghosts, that really helped because I had to go all over the place. We didn't know the area. We didn't know anything, and we had to go and do it. And we met so many cool people and interviewed it was just an amazing immersion into this area, and just also to keep me going, and being out there and pushing myself. But when I don't do it for a while, that's the problem. Then I just go back into, so it just, everything comes at once. Like this month, I have like 3 things. And the last few months, basically nothing, not speaking wise, not public speaking wise. I've done acting. I've done a lot of nice stuff, actually. But all of a sudden this month, it kind of hit again. So I have to get myself back into that thing. And it's, yes, you've ridden the bike, you remember how to do it, but it's still when you're someone that has, such anxiety and all that kind of stuff and has to push through that too, you go through a period like, why do I get myself into this? But like I said, I'm always, even if I flop, I'm always glad after that I pushed myself out there and did it,
So you said that when you were contracted to write Cincinnati Ghosts and stuff, did you present them something and say, hey, I want to write a book on ghosts in Cincinnati? Or did somebody just come to you and say, hey, you would be great to write this for us?
What I did was I sent a book proposal, and it had nothing to do with Cincinnati Ghosts. It was just about the basics of whatever. I just had a concept that I thought would be interesting, whatever. And I heard from the editor pretty quickly after, and she said, no on that, yes on, we want you to write this. Would you do this? Would you do Cincinnati Ghosts and around thing? And I said, sure. So that's how it happened.
So that's unusual, because a lot of people, they put out what they want to write and that's it. And they don't do anything else.
Well, see, to me, it was like, I've always been interested in the paranormal. I've always had stuff going on in my life and whatever. And to me, it was more like, it was an interest of mine. I was plunked here in Kentucky. I didn't have my newspaper jobs anymore. And I was just like, I'm interested in this. So when it was like, do you want to do something? And my husband and I talked about it. And it's like, what a great way to, like I said, to get around, to meet people, to see what's going on here, to go into places that have been, notoriously haunted, or stuff going on, and to be able to interview people, people that really are passionate about this and whatever. To me, it was right away. I was just like, yeah, after I talked to my husband, we're like, let's do it. So, and he was a big part of it too.
Well, I know that you told me quite a few stories the last time you were on, but that just, like I said, that just didn't sound like the other stories I've heard about writing a book. So I'm glad that they saw potential in your writing.
Me too. Yeah.
So okay, so you're working on some other things. Are you working on any more ghost books?
That's what's so weird. Although I'm sure there's no coincidences or whatever. But this year it's just like I've just decided, yeah, I'm going to do another project. And it is going to be paranormal. I don't know. For a while, I just, toss in COVID and everything anyway, but also my, you put stuff off, procrastination, stuff like that. But it was very weird. And that I got contacted to do the talk at Sweet Cheeks Diaper Bank out of the blue. I did not I haven't approached nothing. about talks for years. I'm just like, I was just like, wow. And that is after I, was talking to my family and going, I'm going to do another book. I have to find exactly what it is, but I'm narrowing it down. But it all just kind of lined up. And then, you contacted me too. And I'm like, maybe it's meant to be. And I need to go back into this full stream because I find it, fascinating. And like I said, all my life, I've always just known there's, things we can't explain there. So it's a good fit.
I know we talked about some of the locations around you the last time, and I gave you some insights into some of the things that we found from Bobby Mackey's and some of the deep dive research that I do. And
so good at that. You are.
What type of research do you do? Do you just go and gather the stories from everyone, or do you research the location?
I research everything. It's, it's been a while, but I always, I researched online. I did go to libraries like the guest you had on last week. Always talk to librarians, look, get my hands on. I understand exactly what he means about that. So that was a huge part. And, it had to be multiple people. It had to be, I had to believe it. I had to believe there. I was always whatever. And I'd say maybe some people would have, but if I focused on them, I believed them. And, and that's just my gut thing. But yes, research too. And that's very important. And I agree with you about the history of the place. And you're so good with that,
Yeah.
And I think it is vital. I do, because it's too easy to just go, oh, and then this guy said, that's Tom, Dick, or Harry,
I'm sorry, that hearsay doesn't work for me.
No.
And hearsay, although it may be factual, there should be something to back it up.
Mm-hmm.
Always something in writing, or at least in, quite possibly old video. I'm not saying yesterday's video, because yesterday's video, it may be just a rehash of the same story over and over again, but maybe something historical. Yeah. So, but I know the bad part is some places have no recorded historical data, and that makes it harder. So without a deed search and then a genealogy search and things like that, you may not be able to find it, or even find a living family member to talk to.
Yeah. And you're very, very deep dive. And I'm so impressed with that. And like I said, your guest last week and everything, I would do the best I could, the library stuff, things like that, talk to people that had talked to people that I trusted, the people, that interviews or whatever, or newspapers or, TV stations, whatever. And that's how I went about it. A lot of it to me is like, I'm not pulling out a lie detector machine or this kind of a thing. But if I feel like if I have it backed up that this has been basically said or whatever, and I feel a genuine reaction from people when I talk to them, that helps me move forward a little more to check it out more. That's kind of the way I do it, because I've had people approach me, oh, when this happened and I have this and look at these pictures and whatever, and you just totally know it's all BS. It's just BS. They just want to be what, and I just say, no, thank you. It won't work at this time, whatever, something like that. I don't even want to get into I don't want to say I know what you're doing. I don't have to deal with that. And I won't, but I certainly won't put them in the book if it's something like that. You can get it all the way. You can get people that are so genuine and real. And then you can get the ones that are they're just making it up as they go along, and you have to trust yourself and your instincts and whatever. And like writing for the newspapers, I had to have the facts straight. I had to. So I had to at least know the basic stuff, and I had to watch what I wrote, and I had to, research what I wrote and double check that kind of thing. So it's like, yeah, that's part of it too, but it's also part of just what I feel from them. Like if I get on top of everything, if I get that vibe that I believe them, that helps too.
Some places that are really good to go to get information are historical societies.
I did that too. Yep.
And any of the, the locations, I mean, especially if you go to, like I said, a famous location, you're going to get some really good information from them, because they're going to have the whole history of the place. they may be missing something that you might find yourself and be able to give back to them. Because I've had that happen. There's been a lot of times I found information that the location itself did not know. And I was able to give it to them. And it was from just deep diving into old newspapers. And some of those old newspapers are actually in, bound books now, where they've taken and printed every story from the newspaper, chronologically from the time that town or that newspaper started, or those newspapers started in that town to the late 60s or, 70s. They don't do that as much now because the newspapers carry so many articles now that are not from the area, because it's all from, the AP or Rutgers, as opposed to, the local hometown reporter that's out on the beat trying to find that special story for why John Doe's in town and why did he leave his horses at the wrong stable while he was drinking at the bar. I mean, that's how the old newspapers were. People don't, if you don't go out and read them, you don't know. I mean, I've gotten a lot of laughs from some of the old newspapers of the stories that they report. And you could tell what political party the newspapers were from too, from some of them, because we had Kansas up in Atchison, they had like 14 different newspapers, and one was the Atchison Democrat, another one was Kansas Sovereign. There was but some of them were just hilarious on the stuff that they pulled out. But you could tell which ones were wanting prohibition and which ones weren't. And I know you've probably seen some of that type stuff in your research.
Oh yeah, I see it now on the news. Well, let's not go there, but I mean,
well, we are the Bill of Rights. You're allowed to say whatever you want, but again, back then you could see both sides of the story. You may have had to read two different newspapers.
Yeah, that's true.
But nowadays you may not. But you can figure out from the two stories what's going on. So,
yes. And we did go to several historical societies for sure across Ohio and some in Kentucky, and that was definitely very helpful. Looking up articles, and those people are so dedicated. For the most part, the ones I'm at anyway, they just love the history of the place, and they love to talk to you and share with you, and they give you their time and their expertise and stuff. And that was one of the best sources.
I love watching them get all animated when they're talking to you. And I had a lady from the Historical Society in Pikeville, Kentucky.
Oh, cute.
They have a little train there that they turned into the visitor center. And we go in, and my daughter goes, "We need to find something haunted, Mom. Let's ask." And it's like, great. This is one thing you don't want to ask people, because you never know how to take it. And for those of you who don't know, Pikeville is the home of the Hatfields and McCoys. Part of that was there, and part of it was in Williams, but it's all right there near in Pike County, is where a lot of the stuff happened. And I walk up to this lady and I ask her a question. I said, I'm looking for some haunted things to take, some places that have purported paranormal activity or ghosts or whatever. I said, do you guys have any idea where I could take the kids to know a little bit more about that? And she goes, yes, I do. She goes, there is a ghost out at Fish Trap Lake. She goes, it's naked and it jumps on cars out there. And I said, and I look at the lady very seriously and I go, I only did that once. And I said, I said, nobody seemed to be upset.
Oh, that's great. I'd love to see your face on that.
Her face went. Yeah, my mom, of course, went to school right across the street. She knew the lady I was talking to. I told my mom the story. She said, well, that explains why she called me today.
Oh, that's funny.
Because the lady had told my mother's that, hey, she looks like you. This woman came in. She goes, in fact, I thought it was you, but younger. And
Oh,
she
wow.
and my mom goes, well, my daughter is in town from Kansas. She goes, well, she didn't have an accent. So it's like,
Wow.
okay. But
Isn't
after that,
weird?
she proceeded to tell me the story of Octavia Hatcher. And if you guys are out there and you want to look it up, Octavia is Octavia Hatcher, and she was actually a relative of the Hatfields and McCoys. I don't remember which one. For some reason, I think Hatfield. And she died. They think she died of a broken heart. She'd had a baby, and the baby died, and she mourned the loss of that child. And she came down with something, and she died. They did not know that sleeping sickness was real at this point. And you always hear about the bell in the graveyard.
Yeah.
That this was one of the stories from Pikeville when that originated, around the time that originated. So nobody knows for sure where that came from exactly. I mean, somebody does, I don't. But she died, and the lady at the place, she tells me, she goes, I know for a fact, okay, this Octavia Hatcher died in 1880 something, okay? She goes, I know for a fact that she was buried alive, and then when they dug her up, her fingernails were in the top of the casket. And she goes, I saw it. And I'm going,
1880.
I'm going. Okay. So yes, I stumped a lot of people this past weekend with math, but my head almost exploded when I looked at her and I go, well, you look damn good for 120. And my daughter goes, Mom, we better leave. and of course, sometimes being a smart ass does get the best of me. But I just couldn't understand why she was saying that she knew for a fact that she was there. And I'm like, okay.
Isn't that crazy?
And and if you guys ever get a chance to go, it's up on top of the hill at Pikeville University of Pikeville. They changed the name. It used to be Pikeville College. And it's up there behind the college. It's very dangerous. And it's like the roads we were talking about before the show. And you can't turn around. This is one of those, you got to keep going straight because you can't turn around. You can't park.
We have that around here too.
So we did find out that she did die. She did die of, she was alive. That this part is true. I did find some facts around that. There was actually a news article about it about 12 days after she died, that they put in an article in the newspaper talking about this. But when she died, they buried her where her daughter was buried. And they just basically assumed she died of a broken heart. Well, so her headstone, they put a statue up of her holding her baby.
Okay.
And the husband, though, after that, he owned a hotel. He decided he was never going to be buried, and he had the glass coffin.
Oh, man.
Because he said, in case I'm still alive, in case I get this sleeping sickness and I'm really alive, I want you guys to see me. And I was like, I can understand that. So they sat there, and he started to decompose in the lobby of the hotel for a while before they finally buried him in his glass coffin. But yeah, they made sure he was dead. So
what's so interesting though is did you just see, I don't think it was Brazil or something, where a child was pronounced dead. They were at her funeral, and she had like a little glass above where her face was, whatever. And they were, starting to do the service or whatever. And the aunts or whatever looked down, and there was like breath had come up because they could see and they whipped it open, whatever. And she was still alive. And she had been left like that, I don't know, a day or two or whatever. And it was just heartbreaking. And they tried to, keep her alive, but they raced her to the hospital, but she ended up passing. And you just think, can you imagine as a parent and your little girl actually wasn't, and she's put in there?
And then you have to do a second funeral.
I know.
I would have thought that they would have done would have found this out if they had done an autopsy, that she was still alive. Her heart was barely beating. She's barely breathing. Maybe she had a sleeping sickness.
I don't know.
Because I know it still exists.
In this day and age, I just felt just heartbroken. It's just, how can this still, periodically you see just little from usually developing countries or stuff like that, but still so I kind of understand the glass coffin thing in a way, but it is, it's crazy.
So that tells us right there that whatever she was in was tightly sealed to where she probably ended up suffocating.
Oh.
So that's even sadder. That's a sad way to go. But why? I mean, I don't know. I just don't get it. I would be questioning. I would be questioning the doctor that pronounced her dead. Somebody's getting sued. Of course, down there they may not be able to.
Right. I think they weren't of a lot of means. I don't think they had a lot of money. It was kind of like a village thing or whatever. So it just, the whole thing was so tragic, and it wasn't that long ago. And like, when you bring this up, I'm like, this is still somewhat going on, in some places in the world. And it's just, like I said, heartbreaking.
That is, and I totally agree. That's it. I can't imagine having to do a second funeral for my child. And
then, thinking she's alive. I mean, that, you're going through all that, then that huge, roller coaster back up. She's alive. Are you serious? I'll go through that and then crash back down. I can't think of much worse for a parent. I really can't.
Hey, Carl, can you, I need to take a quick break. Can you play a couple commercials for me? I'll be right back, everybody. I got to take a call real quick, and I'll be back with Karen.
Hi, everybody. Brandon here, host of Shaman Sundays. Join me every Sunday as we discuss everything from the paranormal to self-healing. We'll sprinkle in a couple of fun guests along the way. Show airs 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central every Sunday, right here on the Bill of Rights Network. #born. Join me, won't you?
Hi, everybody. I'm Rex.
And I'm Shane.
We have a new show on the Bill of Rights Network. It is called Music, Movies, and Maybe More.
We explore bands that we've heard of that a lot of people haven't, that we feel like you should know about.
And we do the same with movies. There's a lot of movies out there that we know about that other people should know about as well.
And as for the maybe more part, you never know what else we can come up with.
So, on the Bill of Rights Network, every Saturday night, live at 7 p.m. Central Time, Music, Movies, and Maybe More will be on. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you there. Now we'll return you back to Paranormal Pride and Denise Pridemore.
Hi, I'm back. Problem solved. So, just grandson was hungry. He wanted something grandma has. I told him, come and get it. It's fine.
I love that about your show, by the way.
Oh, what? The
family first, always. So laid back and just real.
Well, that's the reason why I've got commercials, so that if something happens, we can take a quick break. And I mean, it's not only for family stuff, but for health breaks. We all need a health break every now and then. Yep. Even if the show did just start, health breaks happen. And so I kind of combined and got that done. But my grandson and granddaughter think that the sun rises and sets in me, and that's all that they want. And that, you know what? This doesn't last that long.
It doesn't.
So I'm going to take what I can get, and I'm going to smile a lot about it. And I can brag to other grandparents about how much my grandkids love me.
Oh, it's awesome.
So, but yeah, I love them so much. So, so you're going to be working on another book.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think that I mean, we already know the topic's going to be paranormal. Mm-hmm. What other topics are you going to cover in there? Are you covering an area or what?
I'm not pinned down on that yet. I know I'm going to do, like I said, it's going to be a paranormally based thing, but I don't know if it's going to be like in Pikesville, Kentucky, or like, or this area, or, Indiana or whatever, or if it's more like on an esoteric more topic, just the stuff that happened with the pandemic and things in its wake and all that kind of, there were things in my personal life and just things that I felt before it even happened, just kind of felt stuff. So I don't know if I want to delve into that and talk to other people that maybe just if they, it's not so much intuition as just like a sense of foreboding or something. Some people felt it. I have a friend that she felt it before it happened too. And she's like, I don't know why I did it. I made all these meals and put them in she's not this big cook or anything, but before the pandemic hit and all this stuff, I just think it kicks into some people. And I think it's an interesting idea to think, how many just regular, whatever people how much do we really feel? How much can we feel and sense, especially when something of a magnitude that our world is going through right now? And it's not just COVID, it's a lot of stuff. And I just find that topic interesting. And I know I was like, I don't even know why I'm feeling this way. I was talking to my husband before anything happened. I just thought, I feel like something's going to happen. Yeah. I just feel it in my gut. I have never felt anything like that. I've been empathetic. I'm intuitive. But and he's just like, what? I said, I don't know. And he goes, he looked Armageddon. I said, maybe. I don't know. But his face was like, I was like, I know. I don't know. I said, I don't know. Maybe I'm just whatever. I can't be menopausal anymore. That, ship has sailed. But.
But again, I mean, ghosts of COVID. I mean, how many people found out that their homes were haunted that didn't know because they were working days or they were working nights and they were never home to see or to hear what was going on. I mean, we've gotten lots of stories about that. I know a lot of people, a few people I know started virtual investigations so they could investigate someone's home without going there. Yeah. So, which we've been doing for quite a while. I can't even remember how long now, but we never did a structured one. So that's where the difference comes in. This other one was very structured, but the coronavirus brought to life so many other things that are wrong, that are just wrong with the world today, that made a lot of us feel, I mean, honestly, when they announced that things were shutting down, I got mad. I mean, really mad at everybody. I said, how can people bend over and take this? Things like that. I mean, I don't get angry over anything really. I mean, some things make me mad, but I mean, it was anger at a lot of people, at the government, I didn't understand. I mean, and Ron and I are both essential employees. We worked the whole time. We had COVID in 2019 before we knew what it was. We had COVID a month ago, the latest variant, which is fine. We're recovering, I'm breathing.
Thank God. Yes, that's great.
So I'm alive. He's alive. Kids are alive. Yeah, and there were so many things that happened during that made all of us feel panicked. We had the BLM things happening, and we had the election that stirred up a lot of stuff. We had all these different things that
one after another. Yep.
Yeah, things that are making all of us angry. And I tell you, I have not seen people as angry as they are now. I don't see people smiling at me in the grocery store. Like at the beginning of the pandemic, you could tell some people were behind their masks. They were smiling. You could see with their eyes that they were smiling, which I did the entire time. I tried to make sure that I was pleasant to people regardless of anything else that was going on, no matter how bad I felt, I tried to do that to make everybody feel better. It made me feel better to be out there smiling, since I only saw people one day a week.
Yep, I hear you.
You know, did I see that a lot? No, I felt more shopping carts on my heels than I did anything. And boy, I wanted to turn around and slap a lot of people. Yeah. But their depth perception was off because they had on their mask and their glasses and they couldn't see. And, and it's like, what about 6 feet now? You know?
Oh, I know. And
so a lot of people didn't, apparently their depth perception couldn't let them see what 6 feet was.
That's not true. That's really true.
I almost started buying yardsticks and taping it together and put it on my ass. But you know, you think about all this stuff, and you're right. There was a lot of things that were going on, and still is. Mm-hmm. And
that's the thing to me. There still is. It's not done. It's just not. I know it. This is the start. That's honest to gosh what I really, really feel. Yeah. It's the start. It might be the beginning of the end. I don't know. I don't want it. I don't live my life like that. But I've never had this intense of a feeling. And then things keep
adding to it.
Yes. And you
and just because somebody says it's over doesn't mean that it is.
No, it isn't.
In fact, right now, Ron and I were talking on our way back from the paranormal conference we went to over the weekend that we've never known so many people with COVID at the same time. Right now.
Yeah, it is.
You know, people who passed from COVID, lots of them, you know, all this. And as far as immunizations go, the bulk of the United States is immunized. Mm-hmm. You know, it's over 60%.
Yeah.
Okay. We shouldn't be seeing illness from this still.
It's not even just that. Yeah. But I know that too, like, because you've said you've lost people, you know, that to COVID. And I think
actually somebody right there in Ohio.
Yeah.
He was on CNN. They had him on CNN, his death and all that. It was
you
horrible.
get immunized, but I think especially like, you know, because I'm up there, I'm in the scary thing and I'm, you know, and I'm not this skinny little, so I'm old and plump. So I'm really not, and other things. And you're like, I think the thing for immunization is like, I've had it twice too. I've had COVID twice too, but I'm just glad I'm alive, you know, and I'm glad that my husband's had it twice and, you know, my son had it. And it's just like, I feel like the immunizations, it's not going to take it away. It's kind of like the flu, you know, sort of, and if we can get to it, it's just like the flu, that'd be great. But it's like, to me, it's just, you do what you can do to try to, you know, they're not saying you won't ever get it.
No.
They're just saying hopefully you won't die from it or be hospitalized. But even that, like, you know, you can't be sure.
Well, the bad part is that I'm not going to go there because that's political.
Okay, let's not go political.
So but I'm going to tell you, I said this during the whole time that we were doing shows during the pandemic. I mean, and I'm not saying that it wasn't. I'm just saying it's not over. Do what you need to do for you. If you feel like you need to be immunized against this, go for it. Mm-hmm. Go take your jab and you know, but don't judge me for not getting mine, because I have reasons why I can't or I won't. Mm-hmm. It is what it is. So, but I support everybody on what they think that they need to do.
I think that's fair, and I think that's reasonable, and the judging has to stop.
Yes, it does. And that was not only just on that, but it was all the other things that happened during that same time where people were judging each other when they shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
People need to let people make the decisions that they need to make for them personally. It's not up to me to get in the middle of their stuff. But again, when it comes right down to it, all this stuff does lead back to, you know, you're going to be writing a book about something, and maybe what was going on during the pandemic, along with what was going on in the paranormal at the same time. You know, all those places closed down. They, you know, Iowa didn't close down. I mean, all those places up there were still open. People were still going out and having their investigations and having a good time. But there were some places that wouldn't allow paranormal investigations because of protocols that they had to take.
Right.
If it was a state-run facility, they had different rules than privately run. So I don't know.
All I know is that everyone has their, like you said, their own beliefs, their own, what they're dealing with, internally, physically, spiritually, whatever, and they have to do what's right for them. And but my biggest thing is just all, like we said, all the judging has to just stop. It has to stop. It's overrunning everything, and it's just draining so many people. I feel so drained by it all. And I find myself even, you say something snippy, well, they didn't, or they, and I'm like, what am I doing? You just get so mad. You just get so caught up in it. It's just like this whirlwind of negativity. And, it's just, like I said, it's really draining. And it's like, there's something will come of this, I believe, book form from all of this from me. That's as close as I am right now to honing in on it.
Right. And I just think that whatever you're going to write, I know it's going to be as good as everything else that you've written.
Thank you.
And I look forward to reading it and not judging it.
Thank you.
But again,
amen.
But isn't that what we do though with every book? We kind of have to judge every book to be able to, give a review to somebody who asks about it. I got to give a judgment. And like I was saying earlier, my judgment on your books is they are excellent, and people need to go check out Karen Laven's books because the pictures are amazing. I mean, this one's not, it's a window, but if you read underneath it and see what it is, you're going to love it. And you can read the captions and like I said, all the words are big enough to where I can see them. And guess what?
Very important.
Yes. You have page numbers. So if I find a typo, I can tell you which page it's on.
Yes.
And so far I haven't found any.
Awesome. I appreciate that. I know you'd tell me if you had, so.
Well,
I appreciate it.
Cool. I mean, I've told Troy Taylor that I found a couple misspellings in his books, and he blew me off. Like he caught me. I guarantee in his mind he said "witch" with a B.
Well, it's not. Well, but going back just real quick to the judging thing, my writing is my writing, and the way I word stuff is the way I do it. And you're right. There's book reviewers, and some I don't like her style. I mean, there's very famous authors. I don't enjoy their style. There's some that I absolutely love. We all have an inclination toward, the way a person does their prose, and that's just, and also, do you feel I'm okay with that. My own thing, when I was talking about the judging, it's more about as a human being, and you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do. I'm just giving you crap.
Oh boy, here we go.
Honestly, if I don't, people go, "Oh, Denise must be off tonight." But
you're on.
So, but I tell you, my review of your books is, I think that they're excellent. I think that they're well written. They're easy to read. I could probably, if I just sat down and relaxed without any help, you know what I mean? It's Ruby's not really help, but without the help here, I could go through your book in probably a night. It's that easy to read.
I appreciate that.
Like Ron just said, that was not an EVP in the background that said we just need to get to Ohio. That's Ron.
Yes, you need to get to Ohio.
Yeah, we haven't been there. But earlier when you kept saying about the BS, we actually have a show that's out of Ohio called No BS on the network.
Really?
On Sundays at 5:00 with Chris Houston.
Oh, I'm going to have to check that out. So, absolutely.
So there you go, Chris. You got a plug. Be happy. That I even remembered the name.
Perfect.
And his co-host is Joel Myers. And I can only remember his last name because my maiden name was Myers.
Well, there you go.
So there you go. But it's a good show. He has some paranormal people on there. He has some political people on there. He does a lot of calling out. if you like calling out, it's a great place to go.
Sounds like it's lively.
It
Calls
is.
out our crooked government.
Yeah, he calls out the crooked things that we need to know.
We're not going there.
No. So if you guys want me to hear me talk political, I'll get on somebody's show that I can. And Cassie, I hope you're enjoying the Chiefs game. I hope it's muted and that you're watching it that way and you're hearing me, because it's got to be better than some of our Monday Night Football people.
What's the score? Does anyone know?
Don't know. And if I did, I can't share because my
I'm
husband,
taping it.
Ron's taping it, so I cannot share. So,
Okay.
so if anybody puts the score in there, we can flash it up there, but I will not say it.
I totally understand. I'm Vikings all the way. So you're wearing my football team's color.
Well, if I was still in Baltimore, this would be Ravens purple.
Okay, but since
Since
I'm your
not,
guest, it's Vikings colors tonight.
it's for you. I'm a Vikings fan for tonight.
Amen.
So, but I don't. Aren't they doing halfway decent this year? The Vikings.
Yeah.
That's what I
They're
thought.
my stinking Packers.
He said they're better than his stinking Packers.
I'm not going to say anything. No, this is work. I refuse. I will not.
Is your house a split household too?
No, but growing up in Minnesota, whatever, and there's Packer, and we're all mixed. So yes, it's a big rivalry. It's huge. So I'm not going to say anything about how we beat them or anything. So
Yeah.
okay.
Well, Cassie, I agree. Joe Buck is a loser. My kids hate him. They won't. They'll watch. They hate when he does baseball. They hate when he does football. And I guarantee if I was on Instagram right now, my daughter would be talking about the Chiefs game and how bad Joe Buck is. So he's not at all like his dad.
Listen to the man.
Oh, yeah. Listen to the Mannings, Cassie. Listen to them.
Or mute it. Or listen to the Chiefs.
Yeah, the local ones.
So
we would do that too. That's funny.
The good news is we now have concurrency that we're right there with Cassie. Everybody's with Cassie that Joe Buck sucks. We get some shirts to say this, but it ain't gonna help. They're not gonna end his contract.
I didn't say this, but my sister actually has said that. She said it last year, and I was just like, holy. And she's not that type of person so it's just funny to me that, yeah.
Well, I stopped watching football on September 23rd, 2017. And we're not going to get into that one because that is political.
Okay.
But I threw away all my Ravens stuff that day. All of it. We were out and about and I threw it in the trash.
That's traumatic. I don't want it. Okay. All right.
So, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So, but
how about paranormal sports ghosts or something? Maybe we should go.
Actually, they said that the Chiefs Stadium is haunted.
Really?
Yeah. A couple years ago, they had a medium go and bless the field. It was during the playoffs. They had a medium go out and bless the field.
Did it work?
Oh,
don't know.
That's because we hadn't won a playoff game in like.
That's what I meant.
That's what it was.
You know why? Because we never had one here.
Yeah, never had a playoff game here.
We didn't make the playoffs since '69.
So, it is what it is. So.
Well, maybe once or twice.
But it made for a good story because people like that stuff and thought it was great. So
that wasn't a curse thing. I didn't say it was haunted.
No, yeah, they said it was a curse.
Yeah, kind of like the Red Sox thing or whatever. Yeah, I get it. But the Vikings are cursed. Never won a Super Bowl. They've been in 4? So I get it.
Yeah. So, well, maybe they should go back to boating.
I actually like the Vikings. I made a lot of money off them losing.
Yeah.
Just gonna say I like you, but now we'll just let that go.
Well,
he is a Green Bay Packers fan. What do you?
Oh, wow. Well, I have to leave now. I'm sorry, it was great talking.
You did smoke us in that first game this year. Wow, that was a spanking and a half.
You know. So, April, Karen is a paranormal author. April's my cousin. She's late.
Oh, hi,
She says
April.
she's empathic,
Okay.
and she wrote a couple books that are the paranormal books that she wrote are Cincinnati Ghosts and Dayton Ghosts. I was just making sure I put them in the right order here.
Appreciate
And they're very good, and you can check them out on Amazon. I'm pretty sure you can get them there. Probably Barnes and Noble.
Yep.
Things like that.
Yep.
And she's
obnoxious.
Yep, but less than me. And
Everyone's less.
and she is an ex-reporter, an actress, and seems like maybe a little bit of a busybody and a Vikings fan. So, since you're in Wisconsin, you may have a.
Oh,
Don't hate me, April.
She just moved there. She's actually from South Dakota. She actually lived in South Dakota. She's actually from Virginia.
If she lived in South Dakota, she might be a Viking fan. I'm just saying.
There is a possibility.
We do have some. Yes. Okay.
So, but yeah, her dad was my uncle, and he was a Southern Baptist minister.
Wow.
That I didn't get to know until right before he died. So, long story. So, there you go. Hey, did you hear that story about Aaron Rodgers got a new girlfriend? She's a witch.
Are you serious?
Yep.
Yeah. Real crazy one too.
Yeah. If you haven't noticed, his hair's now real long. He's got it pulled back in a ponytail, and
he chopped it off. I think
he did. He finally chopped it off.
He chopped it off like a couple weeks ago.
Oh, after he kept getting it caught in people's fingers when they were trying to pull him down.
Don't get me on that, man. I mean, we're veering.
Well, the fact that he was talking about all the spiritual stuff on TV.
Yeah.
When they interviewed him the other day, and I was like, this just doesn't seem right.
He said it's bad vibes for the media to talk about his bad defense.
Oh, bad vibes to talk about his bad defense. But,
yeah, that's pretty heavy, Aaron.
Yeah.
Wow.
Whatever.
And so
how about they suck?
It just the thing is while I was watching it, all I could do was laugh and go.
Out of 11 starters, 8 number 1 picks, and you're giving up 28 points a game. Okay, that's.
It's so sad, but I love how disappointed he is. I'm a Viking fan from the.
Yeah.
It's just music to my ears. Keep going.
Yeah.
See,
it'll be a long season.
I hope so.
Yes, I know you're not a football fan, April, but I guarantee one of the 7 boys or your husband is. See, her husband's a Broncos fan. Ooh. And see, in Kansas City, that's taboo.
Yep.
But we do have a lot of Broncos fans here.
Donkey fan. Ooh.
And I'll tell you, to this day, just so all you guys out there know this, I'm from Baltimore. Doesn't matter if it's football, baseball, anything. It doesn't even have to be sports related. I hate Pittsburgh. I think it's born into us. I think it's in the food, and I think they spoon feed it to us from birth. You're from Baltimore, you hate Pittsburgh. You're from Baltimore, you hate Pittsburgh.
That's Minnesota, you hate the Vikings.
Yeah,
Minnesota, that's true. Yes.
And it could be that it's in the cheese there
or
that you hate the Vikings in Minnesota. So in Wisconsin, they feed them cheese. It says you hate them.
Yeah.
And in Baltimore, it's in the crab cakes. You just don't.
And in Minnesota, it's in the beer.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. We got it all done.
Yep.
So
we figured it
we're
out.
done with your football update for today.
Okay.
And apparently, don't bet any money on the Green Bay Packers.
When did they start that skull thing?
Oh, Ron goes, when did they start that skull thing?
When they opened this new stadium?
Oh, no, we always had that. Skull Vikings, we're going to always.
Maybe we heard it as go. Maybe you heard it as go Vikings instead of
SKOL, Skull. Joey, you're there. Tell him.
That goes back to Bud Grant days?
Yes.
Does it really? I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Maybe, like I said, maybe the recordings, when you would hear the games, it wasn't as clear, or they muffled it enough to where you couldn't hear it on national broadcasts.
Yep, that's been there as long as I remember. So
yeah, Joe's saying, yep, same thing as she said. So, well, thank you. We learned something.
There we go.
And in Baltimore, that thing that they do, they never did that when when they were in Memorial Stadium.
I don't know the thing that they do. Are we off? I guess
They sounds like a soccer game.
Oh yeah, that soccer chant.
Yeah, they do a soccer type chant at the Ravens game. It was horrible. But again, I don't watch it, so it doesn't matter. I'm busy on those days. I'm playing grandma. So it
that's
is
a better
what it is.
role.
Yeah, it's a fun role.
Mhm.
So growing up, we're gonna go back to paranormal stuff, everybody. So
Okay.
hopefully you're ready for this. If if football comes up again,
I'll shut up.
we're gonna be in deep shit.
Okay, I stopped.
So, okay.
Okay.
So when you were a kid, did you have any paranormal experiences back then?
Yes.
Okay.
Where do I start? For me, it mostly was, my first 6-7 years were spent in California, Santa Monica. And my aunt lived there and my uncle. And she says she remembers I just knew things. I'd be, I would know if something was going on with whatever, or people, I would go and sit by this woman that used to sit out in front of, there was a bench out in front of our house, and I'd go sit with her and talk with her. And she said, you just knew she was lonely or what, stuff like that. And I knew things would happen to my mom. I just knew, I sensed feelings. That was mostly the most thing. So that was kind of there. And then, and Joey can verify this. And in Minnesota, when we went back home to Minnesota, our grandma Juliet's house was totally haunted. They were staunch Catholics and whatever. And we were, but it was just no denying it. There was a woman, an old lady in the attic, which was connected to one of the rooms upstairs. And when we'd go visit them, my sister's Chris saw her twice. And because I talked to her when I started writing these paranormal things, I said, tell me about, do you remember Hutch? That woman was horrible. It wasn't a nice old woman. It was a very frightening old woman. And all I knew is I refused to sleep in that room that was connected to the attic, and she would get stuck there, Chris. But she said definitely she was there, and she saw her physically. She saw her once physically in the room, and she saw her once physically when she was upstairs and looking out. She was in the room and looking out, and she said the woman was on the lawn below sneering at her, and she said that was as real as whatever you can, it was just as real as right. And she wasn't, it wasn't a big thing to her, paranormal, whatever. She's just like that. Yeah, that was there. My dad knew that was there, my mom. And there was also some sort of thing going on in the basement, the cellar. It was a nice house, whatever. But, when you back then, you went down, they called it like the cellar, but footsteps, my dad say, you'd be sitting in the kitchen and you're the only two there. He's talking to his mom or whatever. And he'd hear the footsteps, especially if something happened. When my uncle died, they believed that was totally him. So but it wasn't like, Denise, it wasn't like this and this, and we all believe. It was just like, that's the way it was. And when I was about 11 or 12, I babysat a young child, and there was a female there in this brand new house, basically. Told the child heard her. I heard her constantly, her footsteps. She'd be upstairs. If Craigie, that was his name, was crying, we'd hear her say, it's okay. He'd go, Mama. So it's not like I'm sitting here 12, 13, imagining this stuff. We'd hear footsteps in the kitchen. We'd get up and go look, not there. So there was totally a person there, a ghost woman who was lovely. I was not afraid of her. Craigie was not afraid of her. And I come home, I tell my dad, my mom, they're like, oh, well, and he's like, are you afraid? Do you feel any fear? Because I said, there's this lady there. I said, no. And he goes, that's fine then. That's cool. It's just probably she's just looking out for. So all my whole life, it wasn't this big, no, it wasn't this big, yes. It was just there. It's just like, you look at anything. It's part of it, so to me, that's just always been in my life.
It's amazing what's always there that, we see, we don't see, but then we feel it or something reminds us. And Yeah. So, April, I am so sorry to hear about Richie's dad. My heart breaks for you guys.
What happened?
His dad passed away.
Oh, man.
So
Oh,
no, I don't think so. So, but you guys take care. I know you're probably going to have to go back and go there for that. But thank you for sharing that. And I'm sorry that you had paranormal experiences today related to that. But I have to say that's usually when a lot of mine used to happen back in the day, was when something bad was going to happen. Kind of like what we were talking about earlier. You felt like something bad was going to happen before that, COVID was announced that it existed and all the changes in the world. So,
yeah, I hate it because I can't change anything. That's
Right.
that's what I said to my husband. I'm like, me knowing stuff isn't doing any good except bothering me. I'm unsettled, whatever. I can't change the world. Why do I know certain things? If I can't help something, I don't want to know them.
Right.
Does that make that's like my big thing with it all. But
yeah, if you can't change it or
no,
make a difference, then why am I being allowed to feel
Yeah.
like this if I can't do
Exactly.
nothing about it?
yes,
And
exactly.
and I understand that because I don't know what I mean. I guess it's sort of a premonition
Hmm.
that something is going to happen. We feel, everybody talks about Mercury in retrograde. I was like, I don't know what in the heck that means.
I don't
I just
either.
know I'm having a crappy day.
Hmm.
Is it that, or is it, somebody pissed in my Cheerios this morning and I didn't know it, found out too late.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But so Phoenix says, she goes, I think sometimes it isn't to change, but it's to prepare you. That making you feel like this is to prepare you for what's coming.
I think that makes sense. Like I said too, my friend said she just never. She did the 6 months. She just cooked, put stuff in the freezer, went to the store, all this kind of stuff, prepping. This is before any of this really hit the fan, So that's interesting, Phoenix. And I think that's a good point.
I just know that there's a lot of people out there that this is not just paranormal people, but there were preppers out there that were getting ready for something, and not because they felt, like in the paranormal community, I feel everything's feel. Yeah. And Ron,
it's about to get really bad.
Yeah, it's gonna get worse. But yeah, all these preppers out there started saying, hey, we got to do this, and this. We had paranormal people going, I feel like it's bad. And they started doing all the things that they needed to do. I know that a bunch of my friends went out and got, all these extra things to keep them busy.
Mm-hmm.
They've been getting the supplies for the stuff that they make and sell so that they could have it in advance while it's less expensive. This was right before everything shut down.
That's what I think.
And it makes you wonder why some people felt it and others didn't.
Yes.
And so why do you think that you felt the need? Well, your friend felt the need to prep. Why do you think you felt the need to worry about it?
That's the big question. That's something that I grapple with because, like I said, to me, it's like, what good am I doing? Like my husband just looked at when the thing really hit the fan. He looked at me and he just shook his head. He's like, my God, you total. And I'm just like, but it didn't. I'm like, I didn't want. It's not about being right. It's nothing. It's just like, why? I don't know what I did differently at all. Pray more, I guess, if I'm going to be honest. I definitely delved further into my relationship with, God and everything. And that was one thing that happened before. I've always been, spiritual, whatever, but I really went into overdrive during that time because I needed help to get through it. And I didn't want to be feeling so frightened and worried about what's going to happen to the world and all. It's really hard for me. And even now, sometimes I just have to not look at news. I have to not I have to have time where I can't, because I just get so overwhelmed. So I think it's just my personality. I think I was just born, just first of all, a worrier and anxious and whatever, and also intuitive and empathetic. And, I think it can really be a curse. I just want to make it, to see if I can turn it into a blessing.
You may not see it like other people see it. Just knowing that there's somebody out there like you, that you care. You care about people that you've never met, and that's what you're feeling.
Yeah.
And when you're worried about people as a collective, not just you. You're worried about all of this stuff. And sometimes people like us, like I said, I got mad.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people like us need to say what we're feeling to make other people realize that we care, and we care more than what they think we do. Because we're always out there doing something, and all the somethings we do are because we care.
Yeah.
So I think that's, your anxiety is because you're feeling other people's anxiety and making you anxious. And so let's see here what Phoenix says. I dreamed my husband was dead, not how, but just that he would die. 4 months later, he was killed.
Oh,
He didn't change it, but maybe it was a warning. Maybe that is true for all of us. It's to prepare us for something bad.
oh, Phoenix. Wow. Wow.
Good news is as much as she loved him and lost him, she's in a very good marriage.
I'm glad.
She has, was it 13 children?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
She's got enough to keep her busy. And she's also on a political show on this channel, on Bill of Rights Network, on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, at 8 o'clock. So if you want to check out Phoenix on there, on Conservative Talk with Barbara, Phoenix, and Lorna. No? It's Phoenix and Barbara and the other lady that I just met.
The other broad.
Yes. Another very nice lady that I just met. So she's got 11 plus 2 bonus children.
That's awesome.
So
that's awesome.
I wish I could get bonus children. Melissa. Thank you, Phoenix. Melissa DeSantos, right? Or DeSantis? DeSantos. Okay, got it. So once I saw her name, I remembered her last name. So check out the Conservative View if you are looking for lots and lots of information and lots of ladies talking, and different than the View on TV.
Yeah.
So just the opposite. And there's a lot of whoopee in there, but it's not the Goldberg kind.
I'll have to tune in then.
So these ladies are actually intelligent.
Yeah, they're very intelligent ladies. I think you'll enjoy it. But getting back to the paranormal.
How many times have we veered off? We're like on the Kentucky roads. Okay.
Okay. So we've talked about a lot of things in the past. So where is a location near you? And I know you've answered this in another show, but this is a different audience, so they don't know.
Yeah.
Near you, if I was to come to visit you, what paranormal location would you take me to?
Probably, it's really hard. I'm going to preface this. I'm one of those people that believe the energy that's around it, there's things everywhere. Up my house has stuff going on. I mean, really has stuff. It always has, but it revs up and then ebbs down. It revs up and ebbs down. I mean, you could come in my house and I'm being totally so yes, there's the ones that are like just jaw dropping, especially with all the documented things that have happened, like Bobby Mackey's, and things like that, and Mansfield. That's a ways away, but there are just some places too that are just it's like every person is different, and who and what you feel and hear and see is different, and it can be relatable. Someone can hear something and someone can't, like Hazelwood Hospital in Mayfield, when we were out there and I was taking the photo for that's in Kentucky. It was summer. I got out of the car to take, because you can't go in because it's, basically condemned. I heard a child screaming to the point, I'm a mom. I know what that sounds like. I understand if a child's having a tantrum. I understand that. This was not that. My stomach dropped. I'm taking this photo of, and my husband's in the car with the windows down. I whip into the car. I said, I think we need to call the cops. And he's like, why? I said, the child screaming. Stop. He heard nothing. He didn't hear it at all. He was right there. That kind of stuff is what I'm talking about. There's such a personal thing there is with everything. Now, Bobby Mackey's, like I said, maybe more people experience, are gonna whatever. But if you're really intuitive and you're open to stuff, then it can really be anywhere. I'm doing a historical reenactment at Dinsmore Homestead, and that's historical society stuff. Mm-hmm. And I play this woman that was totally lived there, whatever, Patty Selms, and I feel a big connection to her. Oh, perfect. That's Hazelwood. Yep. That place is, it's something else. That's like the
chapter 1. So apparently it's really a big deal for you if it was chapter 1.
It's a big deal. It is. And the thing with each person, there's just different things that my husband will feel stuff that I don't. He'll say, I totally felt, I heard this or I saw this or whatever. And I'm like, I didn't. It is an individual thing.
It is. I mean.
So he investigates with her?
Does your husband investigate with you when you?
Yes. Yes, he was along for the whole ride. He did some of the photos. He interviewed some of the people with me. His thing is he hears static. He's heard static in mass or in certain things, and he'll go, there's something I thought of your dad. I heard and I'm like, oh, okay. But yes, he totally has his own little vibe with it. So, that helps too with a marriage, honestly, especially because he doesn't think he knows I'm nuts, but you know what I mean? Not, that stuff's real. So we're all right.
Oh, that's him.
Yeah.
Ron asks, do you happen to know very many other couples that investigate together?
We've met some, but not to
it's not many, is there?
No, there's a couple in paranormal investigators in Northern Kentucky that they were on a couple of the shows, the paranormal shows about something with their grandson or something. And they do investigate together, whatever, but it isn't a lot. And that's why too, I was drawn to you guys because your relationship doing that, and we can relate, my husband and I,
We actually talked a little bit about that at the paranormal conference, because we didn't see, we saw mother and daughters. We saw two married couples and a boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yeah, but there was
before. So, but in these years,
one or the other was there.
And some of them, and most of the people that were there was one or the other, the husband or the wife. And, but at this event that we were at, I think there was a lot of us that were married couples that were there together, or at least couples that were together. And I found that to be really interesting dynamic. And I did notice one thing.
Yeah.
Husband went one way, the wife went the other.
Really?
Yeah. All of us, kind of like an investigation. Like me and Katie, we were together, and Katie and Ron were in other places, and it's like we were tag teaming to cover the room to make sure we got to talk to everyone.
Yeah.
It was kind of nice that way. But even when Ron and I investigate together, if we're with other people, 9 times out of 10, we're not together, but we're there together. You know what I mean?
Yes. And I think that's the pivotal point, especially to have what I do is, he provides, he works his butt off and all this stuff. And he supports me doing this, and he gets that to him, it's not a question. He knows, He knows the paranormal is real. He's had it in his life. He's had his own experiences, and he backs me up. And you're right. And when we go to sites or whatever and interview people, he's doing one thing and I am doing the other. He might be taking photos of the thing or talking to the guy over there, and I'm talking to the woman to get stuff for the book. So it's been, I'm just really grateful because I don't know if I would. I'm kind of like, well, I just want everything to be okay. And I don't know if I'd push it and push myself out of to move forward again with it if I didn't have the full support.
Yeah.
And that connection, we could talk about all of that stuff, and it helps.
It does. And I think it says a lot about your relationship that you need each other. You want to have each other there, but you don't need to be wrapped up into each other to go and have a good time. And no. But I will say, Ron was all over me like stink on when I got sick all of a sudden.
Oh,
so was some other people, but I went into a choking fit because of COVID and stuff, and I didn't want to interrupt our speaker who was talking, so I held my breath until I got outside. Almost passed out walking.
I was going to say, oh my
just
God.
so that I didn't do that, and
but
he was right there with me to make sure that I was okay. So
that's awesome.
But yeah, I'll tell you, if you could have come to this event, you would have seen a dynamic between all the people that you probably have never seen at a paranormal convention.
Wow.
Everybody cared about everybody. We were all checking on each other, and we all had probably the best time that we've ever had at a convention.
That's awesome. That's
it was a hug fest. Let's just call it. That's what we should do next time. Hug Con.
That's great. I love that, especially with what's going on in the world and everything. And and have that and meet other people that you feel that vibe with, other couples. That's we just the one couple actually that we've ever known. So that's really cool.
Well, I just think it's good for your relationship to have things that you do on your own.
Oh yeah.
And together.
Yep.
But again, Ron and I do the paranormal stuff together and alone.
Mm-hmm.
So that way I always have somebody to drive me.
I call Doug my chauffeur. Yes.
Yeah, I can just sit back and relax in the car and play video games or whatever it is, or as I did on this one, worked all the way there.
Wow. Yeah. Well, there you go.
The bad part is on the way back, I couldn't work because we had to take a different way and there was no internet.
You had to talk or something, huh?
No, he was listening to pregame. You can't pregame, but we're not going to go back to football.
Oh, no, we're not. Okay. I'm not veering back.
So do you think that it was my angels telling me something was wrong or something else? I'm still trying to understand what I sense. What are your thoughts on April having the experiences that she had today and then finding out that her father-in-law passed?
Yeah.
There's no right or wrong answer.
No, it isn't about that. I'm just looking at because even in my own life, I feel it's from, I'll tell you this. I feel it's real and I feel it's from something that's not evil. Okay. Like when I knew something was going to happen, I didn't think this is coming from Satan. And it wasn't like that. It just was a knowing. It's like, here, this is. And I know you don't want to hear this, but, and like Phoenix was saying too about prepare you or what, but there is, yes, I think there is. Also too, I think there's some people that need more warning than others, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. Some people need to kind of go through, I think, the period where they're like, wait a minute. I knew my dad, I won't go into it, but I knew it. I didn't want to believe it, but I knew it. Mm-hmm. And that sort of, so when it happened, when he passed, it was like, it was horrible. It was a shock in a sense, but in another way it wasn't. I think especially for people that are very intuitive and empathetic, it's a way to sort of prep you, but what the scary part is, I know that. And then when I feel things like I did a couple of years ago, I'm like, I don't want to, because the problem is too, if you're like me, it just sort of encompasses you, wraps you up, and you are totally, you try to get out, you go, okay, I'll do this. And your mind goes off for a second, but you're laying there at night or whatever. And you're like, it's still there and it's coming. It's that kind of a thing. So I think in a way it can be a blessing, especially like I feel I was prepared. I was somewhat prepared for my dad, but in another way, it's like, like I was saying, I don't, but all the time that I spend before it happens, knowing and worrying about it and being anxious and scared, other people don't have to go through that. Does that make, do you know what I mean?
Right. You're talking about, it's like long-term illness. You lose them every day as opposed to losing them suddenly. Which one is better?
Yeah.
And I don't think that there's a better. It's how to deal with it regardless when it happens.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Because
and
I've done both. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I've done both. My dad was sudden. It was murder. My mother had COPD. And so I had to watch it both ways. And to be honest, sudden hurts, but I think I can take that better than losing somebody every day.
It's hard. We have a connection here because that's my dad, a heart attack, bam. And I was in the room with them, and my mom, lung cancer, and I was her caregiver. And that was 16 months of,
yeah. And you watch them and it's just something that it eats at us. Yeah. And we wonder, why couldn't we have done something sooner or whatever? But like my mom was COPD.
Same. Yeah.
The only way I could have done anything was to get her to stop smoking or to get her to never smoke. And I wasn't born
right
before then, So I had to look at my mom's and go, it was her decision. She made this decision to maybe not consciously to die from COPD, but she made the conscious decision to smoke. And this is her reward.
The thing is too, I love with you saying this is really hitting home. My mom, I was with her when she was diagnosed. I knew something. The doctor had said her lungs sounded fine. And I heard her in the car and I said, we're going back there. You're getting an x-ray. And so I was there when they said, it looks like lung cancer. And I was there when they took the fluid out of, her lung. And I remember her saying, Karen, I knew, she said, not when I started smoking, but I knew when I continued that this was a possibility. And I'm okay. I'll do the best. We'll do the best to get through this, whatever. And whatever happens, it's okay. And you know what? That meant a lot to me. And that she just was like, this is the path. There was nothing I could do except, what I could do is be there for her and be her caregiver and love her and support her. And I got that opportunity. So I don't know that I'd say that was, I feel like that was a gift to be able to be there for her.
I had a similar situation with my mom. She called me. I was losing my job and I knew it, which was fine. I had already known it for a couple months. She calls and she says, I have end stage COPD. And I said, okay. She goes, your job ends on what day? And I told her, and she goes, before you get a job, she goes, can you come down here for a week? She goes, I have some stuff I need done. She goes, if I ask anybody else to do it, it's not going to get done. They're all too busy. I'm like, okay. So I packed up me and my daughter. My other daughter came with her dog. And we did the things my mom wanted us to do. We sold some stuff. We got rid of some stuff. We did all the things that
tie up the loose ends. Yep.
Yeah, she wanted me to do. And we went to the bank and did all those end of life things so that we could get it all done. And she said, I'm so grateful that you came and you took care of this. She goes, I know that your sister's going to be the one taking care of me. She goes, but these are the things that I couldn't ask her to do because she doesn't want to admit that I'm going.
Oh, that's well.
Which the one that's closest always sees the best.
Mhm.
You have a good day, and you know about that. They have really great days, anywhere from 3 months to 2 days before they die. My mom suddenly started playing Words with Friends.
Oh.
She started doing all these other things. She was feeling enough energy to go sit at her desk,
Mhm.
and all that stuff. And I told Ron at that time, I go, there's not much time left. And he goes, how do you know? I said, she's having good days. And it's sad when you realize that. So, but the good and the bad is all there. And it's all in how we look at it. I loved every minute that I spent with her when she was alive. And she died 36 hours after my grandson was born.
Oh, wow.
Right before Thanksgiving. She told me, when I talked to her on the phone, I was able to tell her that Ruby was born. I didn't know his name yet, because I didn't. And I got to tell her I loved her the night before she passed.
Oh, that's
so
sweet.
I got to at least do all that, and I never felt bad, except for there was one trip that we could have made, but I had C. diff, and it could have killed.
Oh, you couldn't then. Yeah, I know what that is. No.
Yeah, and
No.
I was really sick, and it was around my 50th birthday, and it's like, I'm sorry, Mom, I want to come, but I can't. I said that trip, I regretted not going, but again, I knew I couldn't.
Yeah, you
And
couldn't.
other than that, I had zero regrets about how I made sure every year I drove that 775 miles to take my kids to see their grandmother.
That's
every trip we take.
awesome. Yep.
When it's me and Ron, we try to make sure that every trip is family related. Whether we stop and see his mom, well, every time we go east, we try to see his mom.
That's awesome.
And make sure that every trip is like that. So we don't, like this weekend, it was family, but it was our paranormal family, not our blood family. But I don't usually get to do that kind of stuff. So it's kind of nice. And I'm so sorry that you lost both your parents. And it doesn't sound like it was that long ago.
Actually, it was. It was with Mom died in 2004 and my dad died the year I was married.
Oh.
So it was like he walked me down the aisle and 4 months later
But the way you talk about it, it's like, well, it's because you're still living the pain.
Yeah.
Of them not being there.
I was so close to them and just, yeah. But I'm really grateful. I mean, it's just, I know I gave my dad crap. You have to go in and get your heart checked, whatever. And, I had a dream after he died. I was so mad because I said, I know you're having, and he had, a heating pad on his chest, whatever. And I'm like, Dad, I mean, come on, it's going to be okay. This feels a little better now, whatever. Well, I knew it and, whatever. So then, yeah, he died, 3 days later. But I had a dream. And he came to me. I knew it was him. It was all light, bright light, whatever. And he said, I know you're upset. And he said, if I would have had that surgery, I would have prolonged my life for a month or two. It would have cost a ton of money and I would have passed anyway. He made it clear to me that that's what it was. And I told my mom and that made her, she believed me, it was so real. It was ridiculous. And that helped. It really did help because it was just like, why didn't you? Because I did talk to him about it and I did try and he knew it. So I think
we all know there's something.
Yeah. And it's, that's one of the most real, I always dream of someone I love passes or something like that. But that was, wow. That was just so, I'm standing right there and I feel that whole thing. So, yeah. So it's, life is whatever. And I feel guilty about just dumb things like Mom calling out from her bedroom when she needed something and me going and doing something else first real quick. And then and then they passed and they're like, why didn't I just run in there right? Why did I, take the thing out of the oven or then put the thing in or whatever, instead of just these things that, you know, you can make yourself crazy with. But I know that I'm no angel and I'm no saint and whatever, but I did the best I could. And that's what I have to keep telling myself, you know?
No, well, you were there.
Yeah.
Regardless of if you were in the room with her every second, you were there. And that right there says a lot about you as a daughter. I don't know if I could have been there with my mom in the end. She always said, she goes, if I have to go in a nursing home or I have to live with one of my kids, she goes, I don't want it to be you. And
I understand that. I get it.
Ron just said, he goes, I can see that. But my mom knew. She also knew that I would take care of everything, but I would take care of it like she would.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very much like my mom in a lot of ways. But when it came right down to it, she knew that, first off, she bought me this thing when I was a kid, my 13th birthday. It was a plaque that said, "Thou shalt not be a smartass." So that right there is part of the reason. And
I like your mom. I'll tell you that right now. I love that so much.
She knew that sarcasm was my first language. And she also knew that she always said, she goes, I don't want you wiping my butt. And she goes, it was my job to clean yours. It's not your job to clean mine. And so when I was there.
She got you that because she didn't want you to be the smart ass because she had to be.
She was not. She knew. But back then, you know, they used to sell all this stuff at truck stops and stuff like that. And she found it every time.
That's awesome.
But one of the things that happened that was, you know, I just lost my train of thought. Just lost it completely.
With caregiving with your mom and, you know,
when I was there, you heard what I said about there were some things that my sister couldn't do.
Yep.
So I went out and I got hospice care for my mom because with COPD, you can get it longer than you can get it with other things because it's a long-term illness.
Yeah.
And so I got her that. I got her Meals on Wheels. I got her some energy assistance, you know, some things that would help to cover for the things that my sister couldn't do. Mm-hmm. And the stuff my mom didn't want us to do, like the cleaning her up. And I got it set up for a home health nurse to come. And at first it was like 3 days a week. Mm-hmm. My mom said she wanted to change it to only, 2 days a week because she thought she was still too healthy at the time. That's what she said.
I can hear it. I get it.
Yeah, I'm too healthy. And, so it got to the point that she goes, I said, Mom, you're not going to 1 day a week. I'm just telling you. Mm-hmm. And, but yeah, I took care of all that. And my sister, she was so mad at me because she goes, I can take care of Mom.
Oh, wow.
And I said, Judy, you have custody of your grandchildren. You have your 2 boys and your 2 granddaughters that need you all the time. And I said, and you're working.
I can't imagine.
I said, so you need to let me help out the best way I can by getting someone in here.
See, that's exactly it. You did who you were. You took over the role that you were meant to. Everyone in my family had a role with my mother. Mm-hmm. Everyone did stuff that was vital, okay, to the whole thing working. It's like some siblings and everyone had their thing to do and what their wheelhouse is in a way. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I was the one that was like, I could wipe, I could do that. That's how I am. That's how I was. And that was, to me, it was not, that's just okay. Mm-hmm. And my sister was like you with just the understanding the thing about you need this, we got to get this in here, we got to take care of this stuff and what's going to happen with, after, the bank stuff, all this, how we do all of that. So it just, everyone does what they're supposed to. And no, I couldn't have properly done what you did. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No.
I did what I was supposed to do. My sister and brother did what they, what was in their thing to do. And it was so interesting too, even if you'd have those days where you're like, oh, how am I doing this? Because I had 2 kids and my husband, and I'm just like, you just feel overwhelmed and you think that's it. And then like your siblings would know it, even if you didn't say anything, and they'd be, Karen, you're doing so great here. We want you to go do this. We want you to, I mean, they just knew, or they were going to take mom for, it would just, it comes together. It is a family thing, and it still is, even when when you're all grown up and, your matriarch is passing away, it's still there, and they still got your back and you still got theirs. And that's one of the lovely things about it. There are some lovely things about it.
Yeah, like I said, there wasn't a lot I could do, and I knew it because I lived in Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
And this was in East, 775 miles away. Here's what I can do.
Yes,
just let
exactly.
me do something. And, from that, mom called me one time telling me how happy she was with her caregiver. And her caregiver actually ended up being the caregiver that took care of my sister's husband when he died.
Wow.
And my mother's husband when he died.
Oh,
so it was somebody she already knew. So she felt very comfortable sharing and stuff. So I was like, then I got the right.
Sure.
And so we did that. She called me and she says, Denise, I'm having these paranormal experiences. She goes, okay, my mom never really believed that I saw spirits and stuff when I was a kid. She kept telling me to keep my mouth shut. Don't tell people. They'll think you're nuts. Okay. After I was on TV for Ghost Adventures, that's when she started going, oh, well, maybe she does see something.
It's on TV. I believe her. I know.
Whole different problem.
Yeah.
That's back to politics again. But yeah, it was on TV, so it's real.
Mm-hmm.
And I started doing this show, and my mom used to be a very avid listener.
Oh, that's awesome.
And she would get in the chat. Everybody in chat knew my mom.
I love that.
And so she was there until she couldn't be. And she calls me up one day and she says, I'm having this paranormal experience in my bedroom, I think. She goes, it feels like there's somebody holding me down in my bed and I can't breathe. And I was like, well, Mom, you got COPD, And I started thinking about it and, started kind of envisioning her area where she was at. And I'm like, Mom, I think it's Larry. And she goes, what? And I go, I think it's Larry. I said, when I come, I said, I will bring something to cleanse your house. And, with somebody with COPD, you can't use smoke. And hey, Carl, can we go on break? Hold on a second, Leah. Let me get a commercial going here. We're going to take a quick break. Let me see if I can find it. Figures Carl's gone right now. So let me see if I can find this stuff. And PNR, Manners, brand. So I have to talk myself through it. So
what she want?
Here we go. I'm going to play these commercials. We'll be back in just a minute, guys.
Hi, everybody. Brandon here, host of Shaman Sundays. Join me every Sunday as we discuss everything from the paranormal to self-healing. We'll sprinkle in a couple of fun guests along the way. Show airs 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central every Sunday right here on the Bill of Rights Network. #born. Join me, won't you?
Hi, everybody. I'm Rex.
And I'm Shane.
We have a new show on the Bill of Rights Network. It is called Music, Movies, and Maybe More.
We explore bands that we've heard of that a lot of people haven't, that we feel like you should know about.
And we do the same with movies. There's a lot of movies out there that we know about that other people should know about as well.
And as for the maybe more part, you never know what else we can come up with.
So, on the Bill of Rights Network, every Saturday night, live at 7 p.m. Central Time, Music, Movies, and Maybe More will be on. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you there. Now we'll return you back to Paranormal Pride and Denise Pridemore.
okay, I'm back.
Hello.
Apparently the grandson's really hungry. But I told
They
her
haven't figured out.
it'll be about half an hour. So yeah, he decided he wants just the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches that grandma has.
Oh dear.
I was like, okay, that's fine. So,
Oh.
but you know, again, I'm very loved. So, but yeah, my mom, she started talking, you know, with COPD, you can't use smoke, you can't use sage, you can't use Palo Santo. You've got to use something that's not going to take their breath away.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I found that worked really well was lilac. And because lilac takes out the negative and puts positive in the space. So I walk into my mom's room and I put this oil in there because I have to do something that's not, I can't use an aerosol spray. I can't use anything else. So I have to use something that's not going to make it worse. And I walk in her room and I feel this residual feeling. Walk out there and I go, Mom, spirit's gone. I said, I'm going to tell you why. I said, Larry hated me. So as soon as I got here, he actually left. And she goes, you know, you're right. It does feel different in here. And I said, I went ahead and put the lilac in there. So he shouldn't be back. But it was funny that, you know,
all you had to do was go.
Yeah, my mind told me exactly who it was.
Yeah.
But again, you know, because so my mom's husband died. And not long after he died, his son died of a sudden heart attack.
Oh, Lord. And
it's a funny story, but I'm not going to tell it here. about
Funny story.
It is funny. Okay, so actually I'll make it short. Ansel bought grave sites for him, his ex-wife, and my mother. He was going to be buried in the middle between them. So there's a headstone in Turkey. It's called what is it?
Turkey Creek.
No, it's not Turkey Creek. It's something weird. But Turkey Pen, that's it. Up in the holler in Turkey Pen, Ansel's gravestone is there. His ex-wife Clara, and one for my mom. Well, the thing is my mom knew she was going to be cremated. And so they took my mom's spot and buried the son there. Yeah. So my mom told me, she goes, when I pass, she goes, you need to do an FU to the family.
Oh.
So, and my mom never used the F word. So I'm supposed to take her ashes up to Turkey Pen and bury some of her ashes between Ansel and Larry. So to make it more fun, I'm going to bury him on the other side too.
Yeah, you will. I know you will.
Okay. My sister says, Denise, you can't do that. You've got to put a headstone up there to say that mom's there. And I go, no, that's why it's an FU. They'll never know.
Oh, that's unreal. Oh,
and
my gosh.
And I told her, I said, I also want to take some ashes and take them to Dad's and put him by Dad's headstone as well. And then Mom wanted her ashes actually spread in the Chesapeake Bay, which of course is illegal. So I'm not going to do that. But because my grandmother's ashes were scattered in the Chesapeake Bay, and my mom said she wanted to be with her, but I was like, okay. But yeah, my sister didn't get the FU part of that.
Your mom knew you would.
So
She still doesn't.
no, if you're hearing a voice in the background, it's my husband, and I don't have a son. I have 4 daughters. Do you have any children, Linda or Karen?
Oh,
I had to call you Linda.
Now I know I know it's really you.
My mom
is my mom's
let's be
name.
Linda
is your mom.
my mom's name is Linda.
This is so funny because that one friend that I told you about her name is Linda. And she's like, hi, Linda, it's Linda. How are you? Because she listened to the last time. It was so funny. And I love that you did that. Okay. Yes, I have 2 sons. Danica, I have 2 sons. No daughters, but yeah.
So it's a, you know, like I said, my sister just didn't get it. But, you know, when it comes right down to it, we're a family of all girls.
Wow.
And so that's a very strange dynamic. But after your parent, I mean, when your mom was, you were taking care of her, did she happen to say anything about paranormal experiences or the phenomena of seeing family members prior to her death?
Yeah, she unbelievably, she passed on what would have been her 50th wedding anniversary with my dad. My dad had died years earlier, and she was pretty much out of, you know, not much there, but she said that he was there for her, and they were going to go dancing on their anniversary, and she passed right after that. So she definitely saw my daddy, and he was there. And then when we were in there and she passed, right when she passed, that something flew off the dresser. I didn't notice it. My sister did. And it was just felt the whole, and it was just totally, she said, she was just really happy to see Dad. And then we, you know, realized on their 50th and whatever, and going dancing with, you know. So yeah, she saw him for sure. And it just felt, it was an amazing thing. It was actually just really touching and awesome. Actually,
Yeah.
Death
It makes you feel like you're letting them go to a better place. When,
yes.
I mean, we're always told that they're going to a better place, but I think that sometimes they tell us these stories to make us feel better about them going. I know when my mom, the night before she passed, she told my sister, I'm going to go see my great grandchildren. I'm going to go to Vegas and see Piper. I'm going to go see Leah's baby. That was Ruby, who wants peanut butter and jelly right now.
Oh, Ruby. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He didn't have a name at the time, and but she says, I'm going to go do all those things that I couldn't do. She goes, I'm going to go, and my sister goes, okay. And my sister said, Mom seemed to be very coherent, except for what she was, you know, about everything else, but on this. And my sister's like, Denise, she sounded like she was coming to see you. That's what she was doing. And I told her, you know, since Mom's died, I think I've heard her footsteps once, and that's been about it. Because I think my mom knew that I would be fine without her. I love her. I miss her. But I don't think that my sister was going to be fine without her. And I think that she's still with my sister.
I totally believe that.
So
I mean, a mom is a mom, and there's times that I've yelled out for her or whatever, or asked for. I won't get into it, but things have happened, and things I didn't even know why I was saying what I was saying, and then a sign would come that was ridiculous. Like I don't even know why it came out of my mouth, and then things would happen, and it was just, I believed the whole way along. A mother is, you're going to be there if they still need you. And you're right. If they're doing okay and whatever, and they don't, whatever, but I'm just so, just every little thing I would get that I'd know was from her made me feel just closer to her, and like I could get through it, easier. And of course, this time goes by, whatever, but still, once I'm like, I want my dad. I want my dad. I miss my dad. I want my mommy, and
it doesn't. My dad's been dead 41 years. Mm-hmm. And there are times that I still remember everything like he was just here.
Yes.
Yep. I was 10 years old, so what do you do being, 10 years old? How do you keep that memory alive? Well, it was my mom that did that. She let us talk about him as much as we could. Her husband had to understand that, we still had to talk about him. If it wasn't for the stories that my mom had, we had nothing. to go with, other than, I'm the oldest, so guess what? I have the most memories.
Yeah.
My youngest sister was only 5, so she doesn't have very many memories of Dad. Plus, my parents were separated by then, so
Yeah.
she even has less.
Yeah.
And so, when you talk about these stories sometimes bring them back, and sometimes I think it brings their ghosts back to visit with us, to maybe fill in some of those gaps of the things that we don't remember as clearly because of time.
That's perfectly put. That's so true. And it can happen too. Even like I'll have dreams that are just back when I'm like, you're talking about, even when I was like, 16 or whatever, and we're all doing it, whatever. And it's just so clear. I can smell the way the house, I know what was cooking, the potatoes and the thing, whatever. Yes. And I do think that's a gift from them to say, we're still all around you. I totally believe that. It's not even a question. I know that. I know mom and dad are here. I know my grandparents are here. I know if I need them, they're there, but they're there. We're all still together. It's just in different things right now.
When Ron's dad passed, I had never been with anybody when they died. Okay. I've seen many funerals, lots of people, laid out in their Sunday best, and all that. But I was never with anybody when they physically died. And when we were there, we knew it was coming. And I could see all these people coming to visit Ron's dad. They're all dead. Okay.
Wow.
His family members are coming to see him, and wait for him. I mean, because I could see them lined up behind the head of the bed, waiting for him to be ready to go. And Ron's brother called his other brother to say, we think it's getting close. And his brother on the phone is going, I can't do it. I can't do it. And I'm trying to I'm trying not to look, because, seeing spirits, it's hard.
I can't imagine
at this time. And I see one of the spirits leave. We get a call probably 15 minutes later that
It's like 4 or 5 in the morning.
Yeah, it was about 5 o'clock in the morning or so. And about 15 minutes later, we get a call from Roger saying, I'm coming. It took him a little while because he was having a hard time, but his brother decided to come. And I told, I couldn't tell everybody what was going on at the time, because I didn't think they needed to know right then. And about the time Roger comes back, the spirit comes back. It's Ron's Uncle Clifford. There's only so many of Ron's family members that I knew. Some of these I did not know, but when I looked at Ron's mom, the spirits around her were her family supporting her. And she said that she felt them there trying to help her through this.
Oh, wow.
And when you think about that, just knowing that there's going to be somebody there to help me, maybe not physically, but spiritually, get through this time that I need to get through.
Yep.
I saw, Ron's uncles. Funny thing is his aunts weren't there on his dad's side. Okay. This is important because they fought all the time.
Oh, wow.
They all kept them away. So it wouldn't
I can see that, honestly.
And because Ron asked me, he goes, where was Aunt Avis and Aunt Doris? I said, they weren't there. And he goes, why? And I go, I have to assume because they'd have been fighting.
Or just because the transition wouldn't have been, you want it to be as, that makes sense. So if you think about it, yeah.
So we're sitting here, the whole time I'm pretty much doing this.
Oh, I can't.
I don't want to, I'm slouched down in a chair. I mean, I went out in the nursing home and laid down on a sofa for a little bit. We watched TV. I had to get away because it was, but it was so heartwarming to see all this.
Yeah.
And when he passed, they're all around the bed. The boys and Karen are right there around the bed. And all of a sudden, I'm knowing what's going on because I see this hand come down over the bed, and I see Harold take it and go. And I said, he's gone. And I got up and walked out of the room and went and got the nurse at that time. But I waited until he was gone. And
Wow.
but it was, I mean, there's so much more that was there, but that's it in a nutshell. I have never came out and told the whole story of everything.
That's amazing.
So it's
amazing.
So, if you can be with your loved ones when they pass, pay very close attention to what's going on in the room, because you can see, I saw Ron getting, he was being touched and, things like that. I'm seeing them all be, cuddled, but I'm not noticing that they can feel it. That's the only thing. So,
wow.
It's amazing.
It is.
And
that's amazing that you experienced.
But you know what though? I don't ever want to do it again.
Why?
It hurt. Physically hurt.
But did that help your husband? And
it helped them.
Tell him what you saw and the family. And
yes, I think it did. Your mom wanted to know before it was after we went to the funeral. I told your mom everything that I saw. Actually, I don't even think I said everything. I told her what I saw, and it seemed to help her. She wants to know anytime I see anything when we're together. Who am I seeing? What am I seeing? Things like that. She says it makes her feel better. And sometimes, with her, I believe that. I don't believe I'm meant to walk up to the person in the grocery store and tell them that their loved one said that they didn't like peas and you keep buying peas and stop buying them. They don't want to hear that,
But what you did and that you spoke up and said what you saw, it did help Ron and his family and everything. And that's a gift, and that's awesome. And I would hope, especially for family members and people you love, that if you can do that again, I know it'd be really hard, but I bet you've given them a lot of peace, you know?
Well, I assume that the hand that I saw was that of, in my mind, I'm going with Jesus or God, somebody who was taking him to his better place.
Yeah.
Was it? I don't know. Was it another family member that was up there? I don't know.
You don't need to know, but it was something that was good and peaceful and loving, and they're not just nothing. They're going forward, and they're still, and that's a gift.
And I have to say, I know that the reason that I cried was because Ron was crying.
Yeah.
Ron's dad was the longest father figure in my life.
That's huge.
It is. And I told the boys, I said, you guys lost a dad, but so did I. So, but it is what it is. But you know what? We've had a really good show here tonight. We've made some really good breakthroughs.
It was awesome.
We're all crying, and I hope you guys enjoyed our tears.
I chills and just, yeah. Oh my gosh.
But you know what? This is what real video casts are about. Talking about things that are real, what we feel, what we see, and even talking. We talked about football. We talked about politics. We talked about COVID. We talked about everything that you guys.
Football. It looks like the Packers showed up with Chiefs jerseys on.
Oh.
I understand that. Yep. Pretty good.
So there you go. But
it's been awesome. Thank you. I loved being on.
I'm so sorry, Barbara, that I made you cry while you're trying to put on makeup. Maybe you could do Alice Cooper night on the radio. There you go. So Sorry for my sarcasm. I got it honestly, but
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming on. I love talking to you. You're
I love
always
talking to
so
you.
positive about everything.
Oh,
And
thank you.
I hope you guys will tune in next week when my guest is Dr. Mary Marshall, the paranormal doctor, and join us tomorrow night at 5 o'clock Central for Paranormal Radio Nation, Not So Normal. And our guest tomorrow night is Dave Spinks. You guys are going to love Dave, ex cop, federal cop at that. And let's see, an Air Force veteran. It's been on Unexplained. These Woods Are Haunted.
Oh, that sounds good.
You name it. He also owns Willow's Weep in Indiana, so he's not that far from you.
Ooh.
And he's got his own metaphysical shop in West Virginia.
Cool.
Maybe he'll give us a tour. He did. Well, the last time he gave us a tour, but it was off air and you guys couldn't see it because we weren't video. But, now that we're a vidcast, you guys may be able to see some of that, and I think you'll enjoy it. But join us here every Monday night at 7 p.m. Central for the Paranormal Pride. And if you guys have any feedback for me, please send it. I'm more than willing to entertain it. So, and thank you all in the chat for being part of this show. And that's it. You have it. Oh, before I go, I need to do one thing. Where can everybody find Karen Laven?
KarenLaven.net. That's my website. And then I'm on Facebook, Karen Laven author. And the books and stuff, like you said, are on Amazon and on Barnes & Noble and all that. And I just enjoyed meeting you and Ron and Carl, and it was a blast. Thank you.
Well, yeah, you, like I said, you've been on before, but you never got to see me. You just got to hear me.
This has been great.
Thank you. He said, thank you, Linda.
I can remember Karen. That's my mom's name.
See,
so
that's it. See, my mom's name was Linda. His mom's name is Karen.
Okay, it's somewhere in there.
It's just that's the way it goes. But thank you guys all for being here, and we will see you next Monday at 7 p.m.
Take care.
Good night.
Goodbye.